Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Go PvP Guides, and today the Pokemon in the spotlight is none other than Machamp. Now in this video we're going to be doing a basic overview of the Pokemon, talking about its typing, its weaknesses, its stats, and its max CP, and then we're going to take a look at all the moves this Pokemon can learn and pick out which moveset we think is the best for PvP, and lastly we're going to take a look at Pokemon to watch out for as well as Pokemon that we do well against according to the current meta in the Go Battle League. So if that's content you enjoy, please like and subscribe because I really enjoy making these videos, and everything that I just mentioned is going to be in timestamps down in the description, so feel free to hop around if you'd like. Alright, so jumping into it, Machamp. Sorry about that. Machamp, admittedly one of my absolute favorite Pokemon to battle with in Pokemon Go. He is just phenomenal in the Go Battle League in general. Like, this Pokemon is just so... Like, he literally can be good in the Great League, the Ultra League, and the Master League. You can use him in any of those leagues and he'll perform well. And we're going to kind of get into that, you know, of why Machamp is so effective and why he can really be a force to be reckoned with and just really take out so many high-tier meta Pokemon. But let's go ahead and stick with the formula here. Machamp, old boy, classic. He's been there since the beginning, from first generation. Mono fighting type Pokemon. So if we take a look down here at the weaknesses and resistances, we have 3 of each, which is not bad at all. 3 weaknesses is not a whole lot, and when we have 3 resistances to pair with it, we get an even trade-off. So us being a mono fighting type, we are weak to Fairy, Flying, and Psychic. Those weaknesses aren't great just because, you know, those are all pretty prevalent in the meta right now. Fairy especially, you know, there's a lot of fairies running around with Togekiss, Clefable, what have you. A lot of charm users. Gardevoir, I believe, is another one. So, yeah, definitely want to try to avoid those guys. We also have Flying. There is a good amount of flyers in the meta right now. However, it's not too bad just because a lot of those flyers don't use, I guess, flying type moves. Like, they use, you know, the move that corresponds with their other typing a lot of times, but that is something that we have to watch out for because it can be there. And then we have psychic types, which are relevant. You know, you got things like Mewtwo, Gallade, Gardevoir, just to name a few, and psychic types are something we always want to avoid. Maybe have something else on our team to deal with those. But, you know, we got some pretty good resistances here too. We have Bug, which is not that relevant, but it's a resistance to have in case we come across something maybe like a Scizor. That's the only thing I can really think of bug-related that's relevant in the meta right now. We also have Rock, which is a good resistance to have, and Dark, which is another good resistance because those are both pretty relevant in the meta right now. So let's go on down and look at the stats of this Pokemon. Alright, so 234 attack, which is high. Machamp is a very hard-hitting attacker, and that goes well with how we play this guy because he's such a powerhouse. Now, fighting type, if you did not know, is super effective against 5 different types of Pokemon. It's super effective against normal, dark, ice, rock, and steel. And all of those are relevant in the meta right now, so it just makes sense for us to use Machamp, and it's even more of an incentive to use him if you haven't already. But then we take a look at the bulk of Machamp. He has 159 defense, which is not very great, you know, but when we pair that with a 207 stamina, that's not bad. Machamp is not incredibly bulky. He can take a couple hits, like from charged attacks, depending on what it is, but let it be known that he is very susceptible to getting one shot, even by things that just do normal damage to him. Machamp can get taken out. So keep that in mind when you want to use your shields or when to switch in and things of that nature. Now we go down here to max CP. At level 40, Machamp's max CP is 3,056, which is honestly good. You know, I always say anytime a Pokemon has a CP that exceeds 3,000, I think that makes them good and a viable option for the Master League in general. But since we have a CP around that range, we can also use this Pokemon in the Ultra League and even the Great League. Like I said, I have Machamp for every single league, and he performs well in every single league. Now, this has also changed a bit due to the level cap recently increasing. You know, we can get up to level 50 now, and I believe I actually saw on Twitter a couple days ago someone had a maxed out Shadow Machamp at level 50, or I don't know if it was level 50, but it was a really high level. And when we get into that realm, Machamp CP, I think it capped out at about 3,400 something. So, I mean, that's just even better for the Master League, you know. Anytime we can increase our CP, it's going to be good and just makes Machamp even more of a menace. And you're gonna see exactly what I mean as to why Machamp can be such a menace in these leagues. He's just super effective against so many different things. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the moveset. We're moving right along. So here are all the moves labeled right here. Let's go ahead and talk about the quick moves. First, we can learn Bullet Punch, Counter, and Karate Chop. Now, out of all these options, Bullet Punch I'd say is the least desirable just because, you know, it's not stab. I mean, it's not a bad move, but Machamp is not a steel type. Therefore, I don't think it's the best option for us to use. Now, between Counter and Karate Chop, I think Counter is the best option to go with for a couple reasons. If we take a look at the damage output here, this isn't exactly scaled to PvP. This is for PvE or for raids, but it's relatively close. You know, you can get a rough estimate about what the damage would be. So Counter does a little more damage than Karate Chop. Energy per second on Karate Chop's a little more, but you do have to burn an Elite TM for it, and honestly, it's not needed. You know, I think Counter is a much better option to go with for Machamp. It's more accessible because you don't have to burn that Elite TM, like I said, and it does a little more damage, and the energy per second is not bad. I mean, try Karate Chop if you want, if you have a lot of Elite TMs to spare, but a lot of people don't have that option, so Counter is more than fine for us to go with here. And like I mentioned earlier, with Counter being such an effective, or since fighting is super effective against 5 different types, we are just absolutely destroying so many different things with our fast move alone, in that being Counter, because we also get, you know, same type attack bonus, so we get that buff, and we're just really melting things. Machamp can just take out so many different things. Like, you'll hear me say that a lot, but it's just because it's true. I've gotten so much success with this Pokemon, and it's, you know, largely due to, in my opinion, I think Machamp is the best fighting type Pokemon to use in PvP right now anyways, and he's got some good contenders. You know, he's got Conkeldurr, he's got Lucario, he's got the recently released Surfetch'd. You know, a lot of competition for Machamp to go around, and in my opinion, I think he's the absolute best right now anyways. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the charge moves that Machamp has. Now, Machamp actually has quite, you know, the assortment of moves to pick from. He has Cross Chop, Rock Slide, Close Combat, Dynamic Punch, Heavy Slam, and then we take a look at the Elite TM moves that he can learn in Stone Edge and Submission. I actually didn't realize Machamp could learn Stone Edge. That's actually pretty insane. But, okay, anyway, let's go ahead and kind of pick through these moves here. Now, on my Machamps that I run, I think, without shadow of a doubt, the best moveset to run for Machamp is Cross Chop and Rock Slide. Now, the reason I say this is because Cross Chop charges very, very fast. You know, you use Counter. I think you use Counter, it's about 5 times. You know, rough estimate. And you got a Cross Chop ready to go. And you can if you can load Machamp up on energy, Cross Chop is going to charge very fast. You're going to be able to launch him at your opponent and really put them under a lot of pressure. And, you know, it's just good constant damage. It does 50 damage, which, I mean, is not insane, but at the rate of which it charges, it's going to be a good investment for you. And I think Cross Chop is the best option here as far as stab fighting moves go. It's the best option. When we take a look at the other fighting type options that we have, Close Combat is there. Close Combat's not a bad move. You know, it does insane damage. If you hit anything with it, it's going to take it out, probably no questions asked, unless it's resisted. Even things it does normal damage against, Close Combat's most likely taken out, but Close Combat does take a longer time to charge than Cross Chop, I believe, and it also lowers your defense, so you are at that disadvantage when you use that move. Dynamic Punch isn't a bad move, and you can honestly go with Dynamic Punch if you wanted, but honestly I just feel that Cross Chop is the better version of Dynamic Punch, if that makes sense. But like I said, you can play around with either one of those and see which one you like better, that you feel caters more to you, but I've gotten more results out of Cross Chop. Now, excuse me, when it comes to coverage moves, we have Rock Slide, Heavy Slam, and Stone Edge. Oh wait, I didn't talk about Submission. I've never used Submission, honestly. It is an elite charge TM it takes that to use, so I mean, if you want to burn one for it, you can maybe give it a shot and see how it does for you, but Honestly, like I said, I don't think there's really any need for that. Cross Chop will get the results that you need to get. So it's not like, you know, there's a burning desire to have to use Submission for Machamp. Cross Chop, or Dynamic Punch for that matter, could definitely, you know, probably do what Submission does, if not better. Now, back to the coverage moves like I was talking about. Rock Slide, Heavy Slam, and Stone Edge. Now, Stone Edge, I think, is probably the least desirable of those coverage moves just because it takes a very, very long time to charge, and it also requires an Elite TM to use. So I think that's pretty much out of the picture there. Then we have Heavy Slam, which is an interesting option. You know, it kind of makes sense in theory because one of Machamp's weaknesses is Fairy types. However, I don't think Heavy Slam would be as desirable as Rock Slide, because Heavy Slam, if you're going up against a Fairy user like Togekiss, most likely they're going to know the fast move Charm, and you're probably not going to get to Heavy Slam in time before Togekiss takes you out. Maybe if you have one loaded up, I could see it there, but honestly, I think Rock Slide is a lot better for us to use, because Rock Slide is also a coverage move that covers one of Machamp's weaknesses, which is flying. And you can also, that's also an advantage of Machamp. On top of fighting, taking out, or being super effective against 5 different types, we also have Rock Slide, which helps cover up one of Machamp's weaknesses, and it also can put you up as a threat against a lot of the flyers in the meta. I mean, it's not a stab type move, but it is very valuable to have on Machamp for that reason alone. And the difference with that is, when we teach our Machamp Rock Slide, a lot of the flying types that we go up against are not going to know fast flying moves, whereas something like Togekiss or Granbull or maybe not Granbull or Clefable, Charm users in general, they're going to have Fairy type fast moves, so that's going to take us a lot faster, thus making Heavy Slam not as effective as Rock Slide. Now, so that pretty much does it for the moveset. You know, I think I covered pretty much everything. In conclusion, I think ideally the best moveset to go with for Machamp is Counter, Cross Chop, and Rock Slide. Like I said, you just get, you know, that fast move that's also stab. You get a stab charge move that charges relatively quick, and you also get Rock Slide, which I didn't mention, also does charge very quick. It charges a little slower than Cross Chop, but you can have one loaded up in case you need to take out some flyers. Or, I mean, for that record, anything else that Rock is super effective against. Alright, so, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Pokemon to watch out for. Oh, but before I actually go into that, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Let's talk about the strategy of how to best use Machamp on your team. So, excuse me. When it comes to Machamp, I have gotten vast amounts of success with Machamp as a lead Pokemon. And the reason I think Machamp is such a good lead Pokemon is for that reason alone, that, you know, since he knows fighting moves, which are going to be super effective against 5 different types, it really can help you to throw off your opponent from the get-go. Because if you throw out a Machamp, it's probably going, well, not probably, but there's a good chance that it could be super effective against something that your opponent throws out for their lead. So a very common lead, for instance, in the Master League could be a Magnezone. It's a Steel type, Machamp's super effective against that. Well, right off the get-go, they're at a disadvantage. You're either going to take out that Magnezone really fast, or they have to switch out their Pokemon. And at that point, you're hopefully drawing out something that is, you know, super effective against Machamp, and then you can switch into another Pokemon on your team to deal with that threat. So Machamp is really good at throwing your opponent off early on, having to make them switch out early on, and then you getting the advantage by switch locking your opponent. Machamp can also be a safe switch-in for that matter. You know, he can, well, when I say safe switch-in, I mean that in the sense that, you know, he can switch into a lot of different things that he's super effective against. He's not going to be something that tanks a lot of attacks, like I said, but just him being such a powerful attacker and having so many things that he can take care of, it makes him really good, just really on any team, but I think he does most effectively in the lead role. So if you're looking for a good lead Pokemon and you're having trouble finding out who can fill that role, give Machamp a shot. He's really going to get good results for you, in my opinion. But okay, now let's go ahead and segue into Pokemon to watch out for. We have quite a few. Honestly, The Pokemon on this list, some of them aren't necessarily threats to us that will like take us out super fast. Some of them are just Pokemon that we won't damage as much. And I'll explain that as we go through it. So, right off the bat, I put down 3 of the most popular fairies in the Go Battle League right now, and this is across all leagues. Togekiss is definitely probably going to be one of, if not our biggest threat. Togekiss is a fairy type charm user who will absolutely destroy us. Don't try to take on Togekiss if you can help it. If you know Rock Slide and you have one loaded up and you know there's no way out, throw a Rock Slide at it. At least you'll get some damage on it, but don't bank on that. Like, you know, get Machamp out of there if you can, if you're going up against a Togekiss. Same thing with Clefable and Granbull. The only difference is they're not flying types, so there's really nothing you're going to be able to do against the Clefable and Granbull. Just get them out of there. And then we have Cresselia. Cresselia is a very popular Pokemon in the Ultra League. That's normally where you'll see Cresselia, and it's a Psychic type Pokemon, so we need to watch out for those Psychic moves. That's really going to take out Machamp fast. And same deal with Mewtwo. Now, I say this because Mewtwo is going to be seen in the Master League, and then the more popular Armored Mewtwo will most likely be seen in the Ultra League, and both of those can be super effective against us, since they're Psychic type Pokemon, and they usually, well, I know unarmored Mewtwo usually knows the move Psycho Cut or Confusion. So then we have Dragonite. The only reason I put Dragonite on this list is because he can know the move Hurricane as his charge move, and if that hits you, you're getting taken out, you know, one-shotted, no questions asked. So just be aware of that and look out for it. Now, I did put Charizard on this list, but the only way Charizard will be really super effective against you is if it happens to know flying type moves, and it usually doesn't. Again, I say usually. Don't go watching this video and then go against a Charizard and then it knows flying type moves, and then you come back posting hateful comments about me. I'm saying usually it doesn't. But it can know the fast moves. I think it's Wing Attack, and it can know charged flying type moves as well. So it's just something to watch out for. Be mindful of it. But we can actually take out Charizard. If one of our Rock Slides hits Charizard, we're one-shotting him most likely, just because Charizard is quad affected by rock type moves. So it's also kind of a favorable matchup for us, but only if Charizard doesn't know flying moves, which he most likely won't. And then we have Sylveon. For some reason on this website it has Sylveon as the decoy substitute Pokemon. Don't know why, but he's a fairy type Pokemon. Most commonly, you'll probably see him in the Ultra League. Oh, I know why he's... I'm an idiot. I'm goofy. I don't think he's even been released yet, so they probably don't have his picture uploaded. That makes a lot more sense. Forgive me. I will correct this mistake by Xing this out right now. That's crazy. Like I said, y'all, I'm insane. Don't pay me no mind. Why are you watching this video? I can't give you any good Pokemon Go information. But no, just kidding. Please stay tuned in. Now, we also have Jirachi and Mew on this list. They're both Psychic type Pokemon. Mew you can pretty much see in any league. Jirachi you'll probably see in the Ultra League or the Great League, but they're both Psychic types. It's something to watch out for. And then we have Alakazam on this list. Now, Alakazam is a Psychic type Pokemon. A lot of times when he's used in battling, he'll know the move Counter as his fast move, but you know, him being a Psychic type, I figured it was worth mentioning him on this list because he can know the move Psycho Cut and Confusion, and he can also have Psychic charge moves, one of them being Psychic and the other being Future Sight. He most likely won't know them because one of those takes an Elite Charge TM for him to learn, and the other one, Future Sight, takes a very long time to charge. But still, you know, Alakazam's just not a great option for us to go up against if we can help it. I also put Gengar on this list. Now, Gengar is a case of, you know, it's not necessarily unfavorable. Like, he won't do a whole lot of, I guess, damage to us. I think he does normal damage as a ghost type, but we're not going to be doing much damage to him because we're a fighting type Pokemon, and in the main games, you know, fighting can't even damage ghosts, but in Pokemon Go, there's no such thing as immunities. Gengar, being a ghost type, resists, and a poison type at that matter, he resists our attacks. So we're just not going to be doing a whole lot of damage to him. If you happen to have to go up against a Gengar, though, hit him with Rock Slide because it'll damage him a lot more than your Cross Chop will. Same thing with Giratina. Giratina is also a ghost-type Pokemon, therefore he has that resistance to fighting. We're just not going to be able to do a whole lot of good damage to him. So, not an ideal matchup for us. Same deal with Venusaur. Venusaur is a very popular lead Pokemon in the Ultra League. He is a grass and poison type, and due to that poison typing, he resists our fighting type moves. So just not a favorable matchup for us at all. And a lot of times, unfortunately, if you use Machamp as a lead Pokemon, you might come across this lead. So just be ready to have something on your team to deal with that in case you happen to come across it. Now we also have Gardevoir and Gallade. Gardevoir is just something we do not want to tangle with under any circumstance. He's Psychic and Fairy, and those are 2 of our 3 weaknesses. So he is going to hurt you badly. And then Gallade on this list, he's a Psychic fighting type Pokemon. If he knows Psychic moves, that's going to be super effective against us. And then I put Muck on this list. Now this is Kanto Muck, not Alolan Muck. Kanto Muck resists our attacks due to being poison type. However, Alolan Muck we do normal damage against because Alolan Muck is a dark poison. And the only weakness that Alolan Muck has is ground. But yeah, if we come across Kanto Muck, which we are likely to see, both Mucks are pretty popular in the Ultra League in particular, so he'll resist our attacks. And I put Skarmory on this list. Now this is really specific to the Great League. Skarmory is a Steel Flying type Pokemon, therefore he usually knows the move. I believe it's Air Slash, and that's a Flying type move. If that hits us and you're using a Machamp in Great League, it's most likely going to one-shot you. So that pretty much does it for the Pokemon that I could think of anyway that we need to watch out for. If there's any others that you know of that I missed, feel free to point it out. Sylveon, not being one of them yet, but I'm sure once Sylveon is introduced, then he will be quite the threat for us. Just another thing to watch out for. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes here of Pokemon that we do well against. And this is a lot. Honestly, like, I probably couldn't put all of them together on this list. I have 20 Pokemon listed here that Machamp is super effective against, and all of these are pretty meta-prevalent and popular. So let's just go right through these real quick, and then we will end the video. So we have Dialga. This is huge because Dialga only has 2 weaknesses, I believe, and they are ground and fighting. So right off the bat, we have one of, if not the most popular Pokemon in the Master League that Machamp is super effective against. And this Pokemon, like I said, only has 2 weaknesses, and Machamp is one of them. He can take down the mighty Dialga. And then we have Rhyperior. Rhyperior is a rock-ground type Pokemon. Due to that rock typing, we are absolutely destroying Rhyperior. So, a good Pokemon to go up against. Just another one, who is also a very popular meta threat in the Master League. Tyranitar, another popular threat in the Master League, and even the Ultra League in some cases. Tyranitar is a rock-dark type Pokemon. We are absolutely, I'm talking like 3-shotting Tyranitar with our fast moves alone because he's quad affected by it. So definitely a favorable matchup for us. Heatran's on this list, Fire Steel type Pokemon, legendary, seen in the Master League sometimes. So fighting type moves, take him out. Another thing we're super effective against. We also have Mamoswine, Ice Ground type Pokemon. We're super effective against that ice typing. And Mamoswine's also very popular in the Master League. Snorlax, the bulky boy who is annoying to deal with. Machamp just takes out no problem. It's going to take a couple hits, longer than usual just because Snorlax is so tanky, but Machamp is super effective against him, and Snorlax is a very popular Pokemon in pretty much every league, so you can use Machamp against him in pretty much every league as well by that same token. So just another good popular Metamon that we do well against. Empoleon. Now, Empoleon you'll see mostly in the Ultra League, mainly its Premier Cup, but that's just another thing we're super effective against. It's a Water Steel type. Machamp can eat them up. And Magnezone. I mentioned Magnezone, I think, in my example earlier. Electric Steel type, common lead in the Master League. And if you lead with Machamp, you put yourself in a great position early on because you're super effective against it. Darkrai's on this list. Just a mono Dark type Pokemon. Fighting is super effective against Dark. Not much more to be said. And Darkrai is super frail, not a lot of bulk at all, so you'll take him out awfully fast. And we are actually super effective. This one surprised me. I had just forgotten about it. Is Hydreigon. Hydreigon is a Dark Dragon type Pokemon, and due to that Dark typing, we're super effective against him. And that's a Pokemon that's kind of a wild card. You don't, like, well, in my experience anyway, I don't see him around too often, but, you know, when I do, it's good to have a Machamp on hand to deal with him. Then we have Melmetal, who is a Mono Steel type Pokemon, also very popular in the Master League. And guys, this is just the Master League, like, well, with the exception of some of these, like, but pretty much every Pokemon that I've covered so far is popular in the Master League, with maybe the exception of Empoleon, but he can be there too as well. Melmetal, like I said though, Steel type Pokemon, Machamp super effective against him. And then we have Lapras, who we'll mainly see in the Ultra League and the Great League, but another thing we're super effective against, another popular meta threat. And then another cool thing is, if you did not know, Machamp is super effective against every single Reggie. We're super effective against Regirock, Regice, and Registeel. So the most popular of these is definitely Registeel, and Machamp serves well to deal with him because that fucking robot is super annoying, and I'm so glad to take him out with Machamp anytime that I see him. Sorry for cursing, but you know, getting into our emotions here. Then we have Lucario, who is a fighting steel type Pokemon. That's another thing we're super effective against, and he's also popular. Then we got Scrafty, who we typically see, I want to say, in the Great League and the Ultra League. He's a fighting dark type Pokemon, fighting super effective against his dark type. And then these last three are common threats that we see mainly in the Great League, with maybe the Obstagoons in the Great League and the Ultra League. But we have Shiftry, grass dark type Pokemon, one of his many weaknesses. Machamp takes him out, and he can be seen definitely in the Great League. And then we have Umbreon. Oh, the glorious, annoying Umbreon. I don't hate Umbreon. It's just he's annoying to deal with in Pokemon Go. But Machamp serves very well to deal with him. He's a very tanky, wally Pokemon that you'll come across that just gets so hard to deal with. He's like a rock-solid defensive monster. And Machamp just really eats away at that. So definitely a good option to have on your Great League team if you come across Umbreon a lot. Machamp can deal with him very well. And then Obstagoon is the last one I put on this list. Like I said, he's popular in the Great League and the Ultra League, and he is a normal Dark-type Pokemon, so we're quad effective against him. We are just absolutely shredding Obstagoon. And yeah, like I said, guys, this is just threats that I could come up with that are popular. There's a whole bunch more. If that Pokemon is one of those 5 typings I mentioned earlier, normal, ice, dark, steel, or rock, then most likely Machamp's going to be super effective against it. And it just makes him, like, even more, it gives you even more of an incentive to use him if you didn't have one already. Alright, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. We got another Pokemon Go PvP guide in the books. It's history. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If there's any Pokemon that you want me to cover in the future, please leave a comment down below because I always take requests. And thank you so much, my fellow trainers. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.